All right, let's jump right in. The war in Ukraine, it's entered this really grueling new phase. And it's not just about what's happening on the front lines anymore. No, this is about a slow, crushing pressure that's being applied to Russia from pretty much every direction.
You know, if you look at a map of the battlefield, things have slowed to what some people are calling a sub-snail's pace. It looks like a stalemate, but honestly, that's kind of deceptive, because while the lines on the map barely move, a completely different kind of war is speeding up, one that's squeezing Russia in ways you can't see but might be way more decisive in the long run.
So that raises the question, right? Is the real war even being fought on the battlefield anymore? Because the story here might actually be about all these different pressures coming together, forming this tightening vice around the Russian state. And in this explainer, we're going to break down the 5 key pressures that are squeezing Russia from the inside out.
Okay, let's dive into it. We're going to start inside Russia itself, because the economic engine that's supposed to be fueling this whole war machine, well, it's starting to show some really serious cracks.
Now, what's fascinating about this slide is where the numbers come from. Russia's own Ministry of Finance. This is their projection. They're forecasting a drop of over 2.5 trillion rubles from oil and gas. For a government that runs on about 40 trillion rubles, that is a massive hole. We're talking more than 5% of the entire federal budget, just gone. To put that in perspective for you, that's more than Russia spends on its entire national healthcare system for a year.
And here's another number that's causing just a world of hurt. 16.5%. That is the central bank's interest rate. I mean, at that level, you can just forget about growth. If you're a regular business owner trying to borrow money for payroll or new equipment, that's not a loan, it's a path to bankruptcy. It's a move they're making to fight inflation, sure, but it's also completely choking the life out of their own economy.
And you can see the ripple effects everywhere. Their microelectronics market shrank by a quarter. And even worse, the share of parts actually made in Russia is falling. You've got remote Arctic regions basically begging for triple the amount of credit just to ship food in. And maybe the most telling sign of all, Russians are voting with their wallets. 31 out of 35 big, state-funded patriotic movies completely bombed at the box office. They couldn't even make their money back.
So with the economy back home basically in a stranglehold, you have to ask, where are Russia's entrepreneurs and businesses going? And the answer is actually reshaping the entire region around them.
This analyst, Pavel Yazovsky, he really just spells it out perfectly. It's becoming mathematically impossible for a lot of Russian companies to even exist. I mean, when it costs more to borrow money than you can possibly make in profit, what choice do you have? You either shut down or you get out. And this chart, wow, it just lays out exactly where they're going. While Russia's economy is basically flatlining, its neighbors are absolutely booming. Kyrgyzstan's economy grew by over 10%, Uzbekistan's by 8%. This is not a coincidence, folks. This is a direct result of a quiet but absolutely massive exodus of Russian small and medium-sized businesses packing up and moving to Central Asia. And all of this has led to a really stunning, historic moment. For the first time ever, Kazakhstan's GDP per person is now officially higher than Russia's. I mean, think about that. The economic center of gravity is literally shifting away from Russia as all of its capital and its talent flees a country that's now only geared for one thing: war.
Okay, so let's move to the next turn of the vice. The pressure now becomes very, very real and very military as Ukraine starts to strike deep into Russia's strategic heartland.
See, Ukraine has completely changed up its strategy. They're now using these long-range drones to systematically go after the very core of Russia's war machine. We're talking about hitting the oil refineries that make the fuel, the drone factories, the explosives plants, even super-sensitive missile test sites.
That strike on Kapustin Yar was a huge deal. I mean, this is the birthplace of Russia's strategic missile program. As one source put it, the attack proved that Russia's famous nuclear shield is a bit leaky. It sent a really powerful message that, you know what? Nowhere is truly safe for you anymore.
So, unable to stop these drone attacks, what's Russia's response? Well, it's desperate and it's frankly terrifying. Intelligence suggests the Kremlin is actually considering something called a Fukushima scenario. The idea is to attack the external power stations that feed Ukraine's nuclear plants. It's an attempt to blackmail Europe with the threat of a nuclear disaster, and it's born from pure desperation. All right, let's zoom out a bit. All this pressure, it's not just being felt inside Russia. It's causing Moscow's influence to crack and fray at the very edges of its old empire.
To really get the Kremlin's mindset, you just have to listen to their own thinkers. This quote from the ideologue Alexander Dugin just lays it all bare. For Russia's neighbors, there is no middle ground. The choice is simple. Either you totally submit and join their United Union, or you're treated as an enemy.
But here's the reality behind that imperial talk. This slide just shows the huge gap between what they say and what they do. While they demand this total loyalty, Russia is leasing an area of Kazakh land that's bigger than the entire country of Switzerland for missile testing. And the price they pay for this so-called partnership? An insulting 40 cents per hectare, all while they shower that same land with toxic rocket fuel. This is the kind of respect Russia shows its ally.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the ultimate wild card. This is an unpredictable external force that could either crank that vice on Russia's leadership even tighter, or it could offer its elites a golden escape hatch.
First, you've got the potential for just pure chaos within the Western alliance. Donald Trump has announced he's putting escalating tariffs on key allies like Germany, France, and the UK, all because they wouldn't back his plan to buy Greenland. I mean, this kind of infighting inside NATO is exactly what the Kremlin dreams of, because it weakens the whole coalition that's backing Ukraine.
And then there's this, a proposal for a new peace council. According to Bloomberg, here's how it works. To get a seat at the table, you have to pay a minimum of $1 billion in cash, and all the funds and all the decisions are controlled personally by Donald Trump. It's basically turning global diplomacy into a pay-to-play club.
And can you guess who's expected to be first in line with their suitcases of cash? Observers are predicting it'll be Russia, or more accurately, Russia's sanctioned business elites. For these guys, who are desperate to escape that economic vice and get back into global markets, this isn't a peace plan. It's a personal golden parachute.
Which leaves us with a final and pretty unsettling question. The vice on Russia is absolutely tightening, from the inside, from the outside, economically, militarily, you name it. But as all these unpredictable new forces start to come into play, the real question is, what's going to crack first? The Russian state itself, or the very foundations of the global order? And right now, the answer to that is dangerously uncertain.